This is a really difficult video. My last one I made, which was titled, let's get it on here, "The state's superstructure propaganda matrix must collapse." That is like my foundational video. I really did well on that one. I can't do as well on this one because I've got to bring up UFOs, and that is shrouded in mystery, deception, secrecy, spying perhaps, and it's also those things though, including, and especially when you add on the threats and intimidation, that make it possibly the thing that could bring down the state superstructure. So on the one hand, it's shrouded in mystery and I can't do very well on the subject because of that. On the other hand, all that lying and deception and secrecy is what could bring them down. So it's sort of like good and bad at the same time. But impossible for anyone, I think, that I've ever come across, literally anyone, to be clear on. And I love clarity and I just can't get it on this. So it's possible for me to just go off the subject for 3 months. But it does have a potential that never goes away, and a potential to bring down the modern West states. For example, if it went down in the US, the UK is complicit because we're the #1 suck up to that country on planet Earth. Well, the only thing we didn't suck up on was Vietnam. Because the other wars were all good. I don't think they were. But there we go. So this is an opportunity, but it's really difficult. I mean, revolution's really difficult as well. It has to be smart, and it very rarely is. I can't think of one example where it's ever been smart and smartly done. I mean, the ends might have justified the means. For example, the French Revolution, I'm not even sure about that though. Too much decapitation, which is really confusing. Because on one hand, I do like the ends. On the other hand, I do not decapitate my enemies. It's just crazy. It makes the enemies, I'm on their side. See, and now I want to defeat those who would do the best job. And I want to do it spectacularly, because what they were doing there was absolutely vile. So I would have supported my enemies and wished the side I wanted to win to lose. That might not make sense, but it does when you think about it. If you think that you wouldn't have your aims achieved by cutting people's heads off who had done nothing wrong, then you agree with me. So you're confusing as well. Now, the sort of attitude towards revolution is like, it's so difficult because, well, let's put it this way, bringing UFOs back into it, the Australian investigative journalist Ross Coulthart thinks the UFO mystery will be not explained away, within the next couple of months. That is mega hard to believe, immensely hard to believe. He's backing all this, he's thinking all this, I think, because of what US intelligence officials are telling him. But there's another guy who got the same briefings who doesn't believe the intelligence figures. But anyway, I have no idea what's going to happen. There might be hearings, but if that did come off, then that revolution stuff I was talking about could also. It's a logical extension of UFO disclosure that if the people have been bullshitted for 75 years, intimidated, threatened, called mentally ill, had their careers destroyed, and this is both military, Navy, Air Force, and its general civilians, its innocent civilians, then it's like, and that also explains something else. That could explain why there never is a bloody disclosure, because they know that could happen. And that's also, though, on the other hand, again, because it's always confusing UFO stuff, is an argument for saying why Ross Coulthart could be talking absolute bollocks. Because how can you get this explained in from the state if it would backfire on them? Now Coulthart would probably talk about whistleblowers, but it's still too hard to believe. I don't believe it. There's going to be unofficial hearings in June and possibly official hearings. The unofficial hearings are going to have a barrage of people from within the state saying that the UFO community is correct. One after the other for hours. It's going to be obvious. It's going to be that. And they've got new people as well, surprises like public figures who are going to be there, who are going to say it's all true, we've lied to you for 75 years. It's going to go up in the headlines. We'll probably go back out after a day, but then you've got the official hearings to back out up in the same month. It does start to get a bit harder for the state to say that they're completely innocent, because why are all these people coming up from the state saying that they know that it's wrong, they know that it's been a cover-up? Just the other week, Tim Burchett, a Republican, went in front of a TV camera and said there has been a cover-up. Couldn't be clearer. I was originally interested in UFOs due to meaningful. Now it's because of the politics, the opportunity to destroy the state. The thing that remains consistent is that I saw a pattern in the data expressed by countless witnesses, multiple witness closed-up cases where they're all saying the same thing independent of one another. But now my emphasis is all on the politics of it. Like I say, this video is not as good as my last one, because my last one gets across my foundational view. UFOs cannot give me that clarity. When I'm speaking, I'm thinking, am I talking crap when I talk about UFOs? But when I talk about society, power and control, it's like, no, that seems so obvious. Because I'm talking stuff like, well, the news media reach millions, we can only reach like 20 people. That's power inequality. There's not a principle of equal voice. No wonder they say they're for free speech for us. As soon as they're like John Lennon or something, and not for it because they're thinking, oh, can reach too many people, deport him. So like, it's only because we're just like little plebs. Throw a few quid to them, let them have Twitter, and then they think that proves that there's economic equality into free speech. It's ridiculous. It's almost Monty Python. It's certainly Orwellian. And I've been thinking similar to this for months, but I think that two people, the Australian journalist Caitlin Johnston, pushed me into being a revolutionary, because she was saying very similar stuff. Her foundational paper is a narrative matrix paper. I forgot what the title is, but that could be the title, it's that sort of thing. And then I did that at the same time as she pushed me over. I was looking at what John Lennon and a little bit of Yoko Ono were saying, especially John Lennon more than her, and them two combined, Caitlin Johnston and Lennon, that's what pushed me, because it didn't push me in an influence where that I wasn't going. That was where I was going, and they just tweaked or just pushed, nudged. That's all it was. Caitlin comes up with good concepts that I write, and Lennon comes up with some really wise sort of statements that are like, yeah, he comes up with more like wise descriptions where she comes up with the concepts. Yeah, I like that. That's what I think. And but I don't identify with any of them. If they say something I disagree with, or just don't find like it clicks, then it's not there. And that's what I want anyway. Now, one of the problems is if revolution did happen in the US, knowing us, we suck up so much to the US, we'd even suck up to that. And we've sort of like have a revolution here, but it would be complicit because we'd have probably been involved with the secrecy somehow. I hope so, because if it would be an absolute disaster if it just happened there, not here. Now, I wouldn't want massive Paris-like riots though. What I would want is a Catalonia thing. So it's bottom up. Bottom up if it's a revolution, I accept that, but I don't want that. The Catalonian style. We have got nowhere in the UK that's got a history of hatred from one part of the UK to the other, like Catalonia and Spain. When I hear Catalans speak, they act like they've been defeated in a war, and their government is what they want to damn. Catalonians say that I don't care if the left wing or the right wing government gets in Spain. If they support the status quo, they absolutely despise them. Status quo here meaning Catalonia is under their thumb. So they're like desperate for independence, and they've got this history. I've seen a bit of it. They say that Franco got the police there to like batter them to death, physically hospitalising them and stuff. And they said that came out again the other year when there was the independence revolution, and the police came in and started just battering anyone, children, elderly people, animals, anyone. And they've got that history, whereas we haven't got anything like that. Liverpool's probably the closest thing due to Hillsborough, which really, really turned them against not only the government but the state superstructure. They went against the national press. The Sun newspaper's not allowed into Anfield on match day, stuff like that. But that's not got that. It's got the history's younger, so to speak. So whereas the Catalan history is a lot older, I think. And also the Catalan history of being against the state is also an independence issue, whereas in Liverpool the Hillsborough thing hasn't quite connected that clearly to it. It's got that potential, of course, but it's not there. I don't have to know much about Catalonia, Spain to be able to tell the difference. Now the Brits, of course they don't like the state, they don't like everything I'm saying here, like about the power inequality and stuff. The news media have compared to them, the public is like agreed upon, but we don't have a strategy. Catalonia has a strategy. It's like the strategy to me looks like this: we go for independence if we dare to. So they want to. It's just a matter of guts, because you have to remember their leaders got prison sentences about as long as what ISIS terrorists would get in America or Britain if they committed an atrocity. So although the Catalan leaders are popular and are liked and everything, they're banged up in prison forever. Well, except the one who escaped, who's been protected by the Belgian government because they agree with Catalan independence, which I find quite funny. It must be a bit of a Spain-Belgian hostility bit there. The other one should have done that, or they'd not be in prison now. Anyway, if they come to Britain, we'd have just sent them back. I was sick. You're off to prison. Yeah, we would have sent them back, yeah. Definitely. I agree with Belgium. I think it's Belgium, I hope it is. I've checked that online here. Otherwise I'm giving false info. Puigdemont's protected by a Western society. He's not like gone to Russia or anything. Foreign name, cannot spell. I got it close enough. So here we are. Carles Puigdemont. He's the main guy behind Catalonia's attempt at independence, and he isn't in prison. because he escaped. If my memory serves me right, he's been protected by Belgium. I'm going to check because I might have my facts wrong on that. I'm not Barcelona. I'm not from Spain. Where are we? Yeah, Belgium. Belgium it is. I'm right. And it says that the Supreme Court of Spain it gave up on trying to get him back. They know that Belgium aren't going to give him up then. But Judge Pablo Larrañaga has warned that the national arrest warrants remain valid, meaning that the group risk arrest if they return to Spain. Right, so he's been protected by Belgium. I think it sounds like they just haven't got the backbone or spine to go over to Belgium and try to take him themselves. We'll get a bit of a conflict with Belgium perhaps. Well, he's going to live there forever. Not bad, is it? Didn't have to even go outside of his culture really by going just to Belgium. Like if you'd gone to Russia or something, I don't know, he might not have fit in. But as Catalonia, I'm saying that we really need something to shock us into that kind of attitude. And Liverpool had to go through Hillsborough for that, and I'm still saying they're not quite at the Catalan level. The only thing I can think of is UFO disclosure. And like I said, I don't mean of extraterrestrials, I don't mean of time travellers, I don't mean of interdimensionals, I mean something like a psyop against the American public and therefore against the world. That would be really controversial, and it could have the potential to trigger a revolution. And if all the stuff about the threats and intimidation come out, what she called Kirsten Gillibrand, the senator, she's confessed that goes on. Confessed it, and she's not just confessed it because she's been on the internet and checked out the UFO field. She's confessed it because people from within the military have come forward to her and told her stories. Now, when they've told her this stuff, they'll have given her their own credentials and said, "This is what happened to me." That's why. So she's not just become a UFO buff. She's taken it from people within the US Armed Forces, within the Navy, people that she's meant within that world to respect, and not just say bugger off. So that's something that would come out if there was disclosure, because it's already come out, so to speak. It's not come out sufficiently. I mean, it's a bit annoying, but here we have someone who's a senator who's just collecting this information from people within the US military, and that's not enough. That's not enough. What more do they want? Do they want to catch the threats on videotape before they can be accepted? There's countless. It's a mountain of this going back 75 years. So it's not like she's obviously talking to people from the last few years. Imagine adding on all the previous decades. I'm not ashamed to say I want this out for the reasons of bringing down the state superstructure. I'm not embarrassed about one bit. It's a very good, noble reason. We're played by this cartel that pretends not to all be on the same side, but all benefits from being on the same side. And that cartel's all the news media. I don't care about the right left bits of spin. They need that. They need that to give us the impression of free. They've got that. They've got they're doing it all for themselves and for the super rich capitalists. I'm not anti-super. I'm not wanting to harm super rich capitalists. They'll still be comfortable after my revolution. Now, and they're doing. So you've got the news media, the TVs, the press, the politicians, the political leaders, the parties, all like a cartel, all on the same side, all serving themselves and the super rich. So I'm not ashamed about wanting to bring that down, because they don't admit it, even though it's obvious that they're the ones who benefit and we don't. They don't admit the divide and rule for themselves. They don't admit that they just throw pennies at the people to uphold the system, and that one is even more the centre-left tradition in these serving the super rich capitalists than it is the right. Because they claim to be more for doing that traditionally. Not. I mean, in recent years, I think now that Starmer is to the right of Sunak and Sunak's to the left of Starmer. They're both like social democrats, but one's a little bit more left wing than the other. And this is part of that realignment game. But it doesn't matter, because even when, say, the Conservatives switched from Thatcherism to, now we're going to support the poor a bit more, right? They're still doing it for the same reason as that centre-left has traditionally done it, which is to uphold the entire system for their benefit, by throwing a few extra pounds at the poor. It's bullshit. It's a mountain of bullshit. It's monumental bullshit. It's time it was brought down. So, although I'm not a violent revolutionary, it's violence and anathema to me, I do want a revolution where they're brought down. So Catalonia is my best option, because when I saw the pictures on live TV, them Catalans weren't violent. They were getting attacked by the cops, physically, and they had. That is why Catalan's emergency service came out to protect them, because they couldn't protect themselves, and they weren't doing anything. So that was a prime example of how the state superstructure pretends that it's to protect its civilians, but ultimately it's to protect themselves. Because once the civilians were just acting against their interests, then they thought that they were right for being beaten over the head with truncheons. And they had to come from Madrid to do that. It wasn't even their responsibility. Presumably they didn't trust the Catalan emergency services to do it. Oh dear. It's like, I just think that this is all such an obvious time now, where all the state superstructure has been seen through to the extent that it is absolutely reeking, stinking of shit with corruption. It's time to bring it down. And there's just absolutely no way in a trillion years that I would support the state if this revolution kicked off. No chance. Absolutely none. They need to get the hell out of here. They do far more harm than good, because they're just self-serving. It's for themselves. No power is ever given power voluntarily. That isn't because they all think they're doing a great, wonderful, amazing job. It's because they like the power. Now, one thing to add before I finish, and it's the usual thing. When I talk about a revolution, I do not mean that we take power. Because as John Lennon said, and I agree with this, if we did that, then we'd be the establishment, and we'd have the megaphones, and then the public would be right to say, get rid of them dickheads, get rid of them, get rid of Budding, get rid of Lennon, kick them asses out. And that's right, that's what they should do. We don't want to become corrupt, but as soon as we replace them, we are corrupt, because we've got the megaphones while everyone else hasn't, and we're really going to act so nice and candy floss and ice cream to everyone. Come on. That is the worst argument in the world. It's the worst. We're not special. We are as bad as any Tory government, any Republican government, any Democrat government, any Labour government. They're all the same. They're all just top the establishment. They've all just got that for themselves. And they're serving the super rich and they're serving themselves. It's a cartel. It's a cartel par excellence. Par excellence. Now, this doesn't mean that the world is evil, it was 100% evil or whatever. There is saving graces, but nevertheless, generally speaking, the democracy is a sham. It's a false democracy. It's a defective, fake democracy. Vast secrecy, vast deception, vast power inequality. No free speech really, because we haven't got the power, so we're not reaching anyone. So it's like we're just talking to ourselves. Some of our videos on Medium, no one's really seen them. You know what I mean? Sort of like that. Now that is not free speech for me. That is just people talking to themselves. I mean, my dog has free speech then. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's about it. It's time for a revolution. It's time to get them bastards totally gone forever. The extreme corruption in Britain is a disgrace and it has to come to an end. People are seeing this now. I don't want the French riots, but please, can we please now do something about it? Get rid of the Tories, get rid of Labour, get rid of the Mail, get rid of the Sun, get rid of the Express, get rid of the BBC, the Sky News, all of that crap. Get rid of it all. Get rid of all of that. Get rid of Parliament, get rid of Congress, get rid of Downing Street, get rid of Tory leadership elections every 2 weeks. Get rid of all of that crap. All of it. All of it, and just don't replace it with anything. Once we replace it with something, that becomes the new BS. And what will that new BS do? They'll be secretive, deceptive, lie, spin, and make themselves out to be holier than thou. But what will they really be? Power and control, obsessed, using all the tools that the previous lot that we all now see as being corrupt. That's what would happen. Anyway, I've gone on enough. That'll do. This might be almost as good as my foundational video, but except the foundational video had Beam in it, so not quite. It's lasted as long.